Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
So as the power goes down in our start today, we can see our field move away. And a really big push for Mr. X100 to get clear of this start group. There is 1 kilometre splitting our lead group and our chasing riders today. And will Osborne and Mr. X100 stay out front? These riders have got 2 category 4 climbs ahead of them and an uncategorised climb as well. 900 metres to go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club today in our first qualifier race of November. 800 metres left and the gradient is really starting to kick as Mr. X100 goes again and is really adamant he's having this race today. Safrazad kicks at 10 watts per kilo. Jason Osborne 10.5. Osborne, Safrazad, which one of these two? Safrazad 13, 15. Jason Osborne and Side Safrazad went across that line together. That was so close. Side Safrazad takes the win from Jason Osborne. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today, and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are here with you today for qualifier race number 2, and it is the 13th of November. My name is Emma Martin, and I am looking forward to bringing you all of the action today. The men's challenge today, well, that's taking place on the Bahrain route, and as you can see in front of you, it is a punchy course today. We have 5 laps, 8.9 kilometres per lap, so a total distance of 44.4 kilometres with 550 metres of climb today. Yep, so that's slightly less than normal, but it just keeps coming on this course. As you can see, we have 4 main climbs per lap, 5 laps. Yep, that equals 20 climbs today for these men. So the climbs are not long. They are 400 to 800 meters in length with an average gradient of 2.5% through to 4.1%. But they are constant and they will just keep coming today. So our teams today, category 1 in our yellow jerseys, the UAE Clan team, Yorkshire Pudding Express, Italian Gelato, Danish Pavlovas and the Belgian Waffles in category 1. These teams have been fighting it continually and some amazing racing amongst these teams. So 51 riders on the start sheets today from category 1 and expecting as ever some fast and furious racing. So category 2 today, just 2 teams on the start list today. The UAE Falcons and Cycle Mines, our category 2 riders, will be wearing the green jerseys. So 41 riders from category 2 on the start sheets today to join these 2 teams. And looking forward to seeing how our riders fare today in category 2. Category 3, 2 teams on the start sheets, the UAE Road Warriors and Team Strikers. Team category 3 will be wearing our blue jerseys. 40 riders today taking to the start sheets on category 3. So a strong field of category 3 riders today joining these 2 teams on the start line. Then finally, our newest category. So category 4 was introduced last week as we started November. 1 team today on the start sheets, global team, our category 4 riders wearing those red jerseys, introduced for the first time last week. 15 riders today in category 4 alongside that 1 team on the start sheet. So 147 riders this week in total on the start sheets today. So, we are looking forward to some fast and furious racing today. As we said just briefly, 20 climbs on this route today. The last time we used this route was qualifier 1 in October for the men. The winning time that week was 1 hour and 3 minutes, and just 0.5 of a second separating our top 3 racers that week. So SS went over the line ahead of Vink and Graves, but it really was a 3-man battle that week. We then saw a big group of 6 riders come in behind, sprinting yet again for the line, and Vujasin took 4th. So fast and furious racing, and a big pack and a big bunch stayed together with our Category 1 riders last time we were on the Bahrain route. It's going to be really interesting today to see how our men fare. So we are down on the start line, and currently 104 riders on the start line today. Slightly under the numbers on the start sheets, but slowly ticking up as the time comes down to the start. So our riders are warming their legs up on the start at the moment. So today, this race kicks from the gun. The riders, as they head off on the start today, will go straight up onto the first climb today. These riders go as they kick from the start line. We are in with our riders on the Sunday Race Club, kicking up and sweeping round that first right-hand bend as the gradient starts to kick on this first climb. The start of this race is fast and furious. It's 400 meters of climbing to the top of our first of the 4 climbs each lap. So as we're in with Syed Safrazad, our winner last week on qualifier 1, kicking in this bunch. This field are pushing hard and pushing strong as they tackle the first climb of the day. So we have a split screen for you here with Mr. X100 on the left-hand side, pushing on and pushing clear of the pack as their real fast start is going today. So Mr. X100 laying his intentions down really early in this race. Philip Graves chasing, Pavlo Popovic in 3rd, Ollie Jones in 4th, Mitch Ferry in 5th. These riders are the ones we would expect to be seeing to go clear, but they are absolutely laying their intentions down early today on the Sunday Race Club. Just 800 metres into racing today, and the push is already on the front of this race field. So you can see the damage being done on the top right-hand corner of your screen. That graphic gives you a really clear indication of the start of this race today and how the field is faring. So as they sweep round this right-hand bend over this bridge and start to drop down, eventually on the other side of this climb, that pack is strung out. The 106 riders on this race are strung out in a long, long line with Mr. X100 and Ollie Jones at the front of that field. So this first climb today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club is already stringing and stretching this pack of riders today. So we are seeing the pack start to form at the front. It was a furious start today as the first 400 meters of this race went straight uphill. They've gone up, they've gone down, and they are back up again on the second climb on this lap. So today's race, an 8.9 kilometer lap with 4 climbs each lap. 5 laps in total makes 20 climbs for these men today. This course goes up and it comes down, and there is very little flat in between. So looking a little further back down the field, we're in with Kamesh at the moment, Goulburn just in front, 2 Category 4 riders. Our new category this month as we move from 3 categories on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club to 4 race categories in our efforts to ensure much fairer and consistent racing as the fields really start to grow. So this group really spread back, and this field really spread back now right the way across this road. As we look on the left hand side of your screen, we drop in with the front pack. 2.2 kilometers now traveled in this race. They are up and they are over the second climb on this lap now. So in with Pablo Popovic, we have Maglio, Vink, Mr. X100, Graves, Noren. All these riders have made this group. So looking in here, we still have quite a significant group here of riders in this front pack. This pack is over 20 riders at the moment, with a good strong field in here of category 1 and category 2 riders as they drop down off of the second climb of the day. So they will drop down off of this climb, and then there's a section of transition before at 4 kilometers they will start the third climb on this lap. So Vink here comfortably in this group as the group roll along at around 40 kilometers an hour. So this lead group has established itself early on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, 3.3 kilometers into this race, and this leading group is comfortably moving along just under 50 kilometers an hour. A little bit further back down the field on the right hand side of your screen, we are in with a chasing group of riders nearer towards the back end of the field there, and we have one of our category 4 riders there comfortably in a group with a few category 1 yellow jerseys and some category 3 blue jerseys as well. But the front of this race field are moving well, and this race lead pack is well established as Ryan Giuliano is in there, Cadiz is in there, Tom Gates is in there, Moses Baltazar is in there, Marvin Angarita is in there. These are strong category 2 riders. Nicholas Spratt is in there as well. So we are still looking like we are around 30 riders at least still in this front group. So a really strong front group leading today, our leading category 1 and leading category 2 riders, which is absolutely fantastic to see. A little bit further back down your screens, we have got our other riders, but this leading group now are pushing onto the third climb of the day. So this third climb on this course, 800 meters in height with an average gradient of 3%. But of course, these are average gradients, and the gradients will go higher on these climbs. So as our screenshot changes, we are in here. We have a number of riders in this group here, which is a mixed group of category 1, category 4 and category 3 riders, and it is moving through this pack here. But look at the distance already covered by this front group and the gaps going throughout this field. So at 4.7 kilometers already traveled, this front group is moving really well here. And we're watching Ferry here and Mr. X100, Ollie Jones, Phil Graves. They're just pushing on a little on this climb and stretching this front group out. It's still a very big pack. We still had around 30 riders in our leading group and a real mix of category 1 and category 2 riders. It's Mr. X100 yet again comes to the front of this group, and you can see the stretch now as the camera shot takes you back across the bridge, and you can see how long the tail on that group is now forming, and the yellow jerseys coming to the fore there of our category 1 riders, making sure they do not miss this break as this road now starts to drop downhill on the other side of this climb. So it's looking as though we have not just our category 1 riders who have been paying attention, but our category 2 riders as well, because there's a good strong mix still in this group as they are over that third climb on this course and will very shortly be heading back up on climb number 4. So on the top right-hand side of your screen, the smaller picture gives us a really good indication of how that climb has changed these group dynamics. So we did have 30 riders in that lead group, but you can see on that sweeping right-hand bend, on that top right-hand corner graphic there, that the group has been split into 2 groups now, with a smaller group at the front and a chase group behind. And that graphic gives you a really good, clear indication of what's happening in that pack. The graphic on the top left-hand side gives you information on the rider we are currently in with. So the green number at the moment, 344 watts, the power the rider is putting out. If the number is green, then it means the rider is making benefit of the draft of being in the pack. Once they are out of the draft, that number will turn black. Revs and cadence. So currently we are in with Knudsen, 91 RPM at a heart rate of 179, 180, 181, ticking on as Knudsen puts some power down and starts to stretch this group at the front. So Knudsen kicking out 7.7 watts per kilo. Phil Graves goes over the top, 8 watts per kilo, 8.5, as yet again they are stretching this group. So Knudsen, Graves, Paniza, pushing on at the front of this group to really try and create a smaller lead group. And you can see yet again on that top right hand corner graphic the damage that is being done as they've really stretched this group. So Graves, Knudsen, Paniza, Popovic, Ferry, Safrazad, these riders are now all starting to come together, and I'm taking a little look and it's looking like we've got a couple of category 2 riders who are still pushing. So Maglio is in there, Cadiz is in there, and I'm looking down that group to see whether Tisalius has also made the junction, but we are starting to see those splits start to form, and it's interesting to see whether those groups can start to come back together again or whether those gaps will start to stick. So we are here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club as the men face the Bahrain Challenge for qualifier number 2 in November. We've seen some fast and furious racing already with Mr. X100 really putting the power down on the pedals to start and try and create some real gaps in the front of this race. As we drop in now with Hassan Al-Ramethri, one of our really strong category 2 riders who is looking as though he has not made the selection early in this race today and is a little bit out of where we would expect our Methri to be in this race at this time. So the leading category 2 riders are still in with the back end of this leading group. In fact, Maglio is still in with this front pack that we can see as Al Hamadi pushes on the pedals at 7 watts per kilo to go once again. So at 8.3 kilometers, this is coming towards the end of lap 1. So each lap on this course today, 8.9 kilometers of racing, 5 laps, giving us a total race distance of 44.4 kilometers. So this is the first time that our riders are going to get a heads up on the end of the lap. And obviously at the end of lap 5, this will be the finish to the race today. So as Al Hamadi comes round that sweeping left-hand corner at 8.8 kilometers, the lap banner, there we are, the lap banner will come into sight, and that is the first sighting of the lap banner this race. So that is indeed the end of lap 1 and the start of lap 2 today. But a good sighting for our riders today, because that lap banner does not come into sight until around 100 meters before you pass through it. So our riders recceing what will be the race finish later today. So as our riders go out on lap 2 of 5, we are in with Youssef Al-Hamadi. This group now pushing through, and it's looking as though we've got 4 riders at the front, and then we've got a small gap of a couple of seconds back to our group here that is starting to split and stretch after they go over this first climb of lap number 2. So Knudsen, Graves, Jones, Al-Hamadi. A small gap now back to 3 chasing riders. It's looking like we have got Mr. X100, Michael Vink, and Pablo Popovic just 2 seconds back. And then the group will be even further back. So lap number 1 has seen a leading group of over 30 riders whittled down each climb until we have now in front of us what is looking like a front group coming together here of around 7 riders. But we've got Said Safrazad here, Mitch Ferry, Ricardo Paniza. These riders are going to push on and make sure they don't miss this group, because this is where they really need to start watching as we continue to see a push on at the front. In fact, I've just seen over 10 watts per kilo from Michael Vink. So this front group are really clear about wanting to make this start to stick, as again, that top right-hand corner graphic gives us a really good picture of what's going on in the racing here, as we start to see the attention needing to be given to the racing by our riders, or else they are going to get caught out napping as we start to see this race go up climb number 6, and these riders making use of this constantly changing terrain to create some gaps in this race field. So Ollie Jones pushing on 8 watts per kilo, Knudsen, Graves, Vink going with him. So 4 riders. Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic, Said Safrazad. These riders are in close attention, but there are still some gaps in this field here, and riders are going to have to be really careful, because we are now starting to see some potentially race-changing moves. So this gap now from our lead 4 riders, Jones, Vink, Knudsen and Graves, looking like it's found 5 or 6 seconds now. Back to Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic, Youssef Al-Hamadi. These riders are now pushing on here as Jones continues to keep the power down with Vink, Knudsen and Graves. This is a really, really dangerous lead group of 4 riders. And the rest of the riders in this race really need to start thinking about how they're going to respond to this, because Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic, Said Safrazad are the riders. Youssef Al-Hamadi, Mitch Ferry are the riders who have been caught out by this move. So we've got 4 lead riders in this race at the moment, with a gap of around 5 or 6 seconds back to our chase riders. This field is being split apart by this race. So Knudsen, Jones, Vink and Graves are lead 4 riders on the Sunday Race Club today. We have 17 minutes of racing done on this Bahrain route, and the race field has been split apart today. So Knudsen, Vink, Graves and Jones are lead 4 riders. We've got Safrazad, Mr. X100, Popovic in our chasing group. In fact, the chasing group is starting to split now as we really start to see these riders move. And Mr. X100 and Pavlo Popovic have pushed hard, and it's looking as though they are going to make that catch, actually. And we're going to see Mr. X100 and Said Safrazad make the catch. Youssef Al-Hamadi is not there, currently sat there looking at this. So 2 riders. This is constantly moving and constantly shifting. So let's take a look and confirm. We have Mr. X100, Pavlo Popovic, Jones, Vink, Graves, and Knudsen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders. Sides Safrazad and Yusuf Al Hamadi are our chasing two. So Jones continuing to kick on, Knudsen going with him. 6 riders now in this lead group. So 6 riders clear, 2 riders chasing. So at 13.2 kilometres, we are on climb number 7 today. Climb number 7 out of 20 climbs in this race. And we have seen attack after attack, and we have seen this field decimated. What was a group of 30 riders on lap 1, as we have moved into lap 2, has become smaller groups all over the road. So Ollie Jones, Mr. X100, Philip Graves, Michael Knudsen, Michael Vink, Pavlo Popovic, the 6 riders in this lead group that you can see in front of you now. We have 2 chase riders in a group side. Safrazad, 8 seconds back with no longer with a rider for company, actually, by the look of that. So that is looking as though Safrazad is now a lone chase rider, about 6 seconds back off this group. Indeed. So Safrazad has lost his company. So Safrazad there, a clear lone chase rider, 6 seconds back from our leading group. Then 19 seconds back to Ferry, 30 seconds back to Bushmill, and then Panzina further back. So this field has been absolutely split apart by the attacks after attacks on these climbs that we have seen today already. So we're here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and the Bahrain route has given us nothing but excitement already today. We have seen attack after attack in this men's race, and we are less than 15 kilometres into a 44.4 kilometre race as this front group continue to kick on and have already established a lead and a gap over this field today. So in with Mr. X100 on the right hand side of your screen as Ollie Jones goes to the front and kicks again. This is constant pushing on at the front and no let up on this pace today. So Jones, Knudsen, Graves, Vink, Popovic and Mr. X100 are 6 riders in this lead group now, 20 seconds clear of Syed Safrazad in 7th place. So these 6 riders now with daylight and clear road between them and the chase rider, and it's a lone chase rider today. A little bit further back down the field, we have a strong group here of what is looking like our lead group in the Category 2 race. So some really strong riders in this group, and this group were indeed part and parcel of this front group early on in the race during lap 1. So Hassan Al-Ramethri in here, Tom Gates in here, Carl Tisalius in here, Johan Moreno, Marcelo Heining, Albin Boren. So this is a large group of Category 2 riders in here, and some really, really strong riders in here as well. A little bit further back down the field, Mike Phillips there in the blue jersey, a really strong Category 3 rider. In fact, last week out on the Tel Morib course, Phillips took the win in Category 3 and could well indeed be our leading Category 3 rider today. So last week in our Category 3 race, Phillips took the win from Parsi, from Eckersley, and that indeed was the 1, 2, 3 in Category 3. So Phillips looking strong again and looking to have made a really good selection in this race today for that Category 3 race. So we are in with what is looking like to be our lead category 2 pack here in this race today. So Nicholas Spratt is in here, Moses Baltazar is in here, Marvin Angarita is in here, Francis Alpino is in here. These are the riders we would be looking to for this category 2 race today. Last week, Cadiz took it from Kranich, from Alpino, from Angarita, and from Giuliano. So this indeed is going to be a strong race for our category 2 riders today, and yet again another really competitive race, because taking a look at that, 2, 4, 6, 8, there must be 9 category 2 riders in that group at the moment. Of course, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders in each category for the prize money today. So on the right-hand side of your screen, we can see we are in with the lead group, the lead category 1 group, just ticking along now, 17.1 kilometres travelled, as they start to run in and to the final sections of lap number 2. So these are the sections here, the final stages of each lap, giving our riders a really good indication as to what the final of this race will look like and how late that lap banner is before the riders can see it. So a really good heads up as to what's going on. So on the right hand side of our screen, we see those riders take the final stages of lap number 2. On the left-hand side of your screen, we drop a little bit further back. We've talked about our category 3 and our category 2 riders. It's looking here as though we have a strong race going on as well in category 4 with our riders there as well. So Knudsen and the group go through the banner indicating the end of lap 2 and the start of lap 3 on the Sunday Race Club. So Knudsen pushing on, Jones with him, Graves still in there, Mr. X100 and Vink. So I am looking here. So we have 5 riders now. So Jones, X100, Knudsen, Graves and Vink. 5 riders now in this group. Pablo Popovic 40 seconds back now. So a real changes going on here as we see the dynamics going on in this group, and these constant climbs and the constant attacks taking their toll on this race field today. So Popovic is looking like he's got Ferry for company now. So Ferry and Popovic come together in a group of 2, which will help each other push on. But Pablo Popovic has now got company with Mitch Ferry. So Ferry and Popovic, 2-man chase group today behind the lead group of 5. So Vink, Jones, Graves, X100 and Knudsen, 5 riders clear at the front. 35 seconds, or what's looking like around 500 metres or just over 500 metres on the road back now to Popovic and Ferry, our 2 chase riders. This is constantly changing today, and these conditions and this course with so many short climbs and very little flatland, really dictating the dynamics on this race today. So our 5 riders out front in this category 1 race with our 2 chase riders of Popovic and Ferry. So Graves, Knudsen, Jones, Vink and X100 here. 5 riders clear at 19.2 kilometres. They start to move up onto the 10th climb of this course today. So 20 climbs in total, 4 per lap, 5 laps of the total distance of 44.4 kilometres today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. this is a constantly changing gradient today, and it's really catching some of our riders out because the attacks keep coming and the dynamics keep changing. As we take a look now on the right hand side of your screen, Saeed Safrazad, who was in that chase group not long ago, has really now moved back down through the field and is currently sat there now in 13th place. So this race and these dynamics really changing as Safrazad taps along now and is looking to move towards the end of this race. So back in with our lead group as they go up and over the climb number 10 on this race course today. So Jones, Mr. X100, Philip Graves, Michael Vink, Michael Knudsen are our riders pushing on over the bridge and round this right-hand sweeping bend here today. So coming up for 20 kilometres travelled for this lead group as they continue to push on today. So if you are watching the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for the first time, welcome, and it's great to have you on board. If you are interested in joining us, not just by watching, but on a bike, then head over to the MyWhoosh platform, mywhoosh.com. Download the app if you haven't already, and jump on and give it a ride. So you can join the Sunday Race Club on the website by heading to the events page. You will need to register to ride at least 12 hours before the start of the race. You will also need to take a look at the technical guide and the rule set, and there is also a frequently asked questions page, which is a really good and useful document to take a look at. Once you are signed up, get on the start line of the Sunday Race Club and join us. We would love to have you. So 4 different categories of racing, and racing categories are dynamic to allow real fair and consistent racing. And that is the idea here, that regardless of which category you are in a category with like ability riders, which gives a good race and a strong race and an interesting race for all of our categories, as you can see today. So our yellow jersey wearing category 1 riders are competitive with each other. Likewise, our green wearing category 2, our blue jersey category 3, and our red jersey category 4. And those categories are around creating fair racing for everybody, and that really is what we are after. So the racing structure of the Sunday Race Club, you need at least 2 qualifier races, verified racing to qualify for the final. This month there are 3 qualifying races. Last month there were 4. It depends how many Sundays there are in the month. And you'll need a post-ride verification to be eligible for the monthly final. And all the information around verified rides are part and parcel of that technical guide and that rule set documentation. As we mentioned, registration for the Sunday Race Club events closed 12 hours prior to the race start, so you do need to be timely in your submission for your racing. So all categories have to submit weigh-in videos and perform dual verification. Again, all that information is in the documents you can find on the website. And all participants in the Sunday Race Club will be monitored as part of the MyWhoosh's performance verification program, so that we ensure that you are in and remain in the right category. And that is really important, because prize money for all racing, so individual prize money, in the qualifying races, and then in the final of the month there is also prize money for our team categories. So in our qualifier races, a total prize fund of 65,000 AED. That's around $17,500 or £15,000 sterling, depending upon which currency you are familiar with. But each of the 4 categories has a prize fund that goes from 1st to 5th place. So back in with the racing, and we are seeing our category 4 riders there going through that finish banner for the end of lap 2, whilst the front of the race is still looking really strong. So 5 riders clear in this race: Jones, Graves, Vink, Knudsen and Mr. X100. Now over a minute clear of the 2 chasing riders, Ferry and Popovic. In fact, we drop back in there. Ross Fawcett is also riding today, and we've just dropped back in there, looking as though just in front of Fawcett is one of our category 4 riders. In fact, I can see Carrillo further down the road there, as well as Fawcett here tapping along and riding. So Fawcett likely to be part and parcel of a training plan, but also likely to be part and parcel of looking for a verified qualification race. Let's put my teeth around that, shall we? Okay, so back in with our front riders moving through this field, but it's looking like we're just going to drop in as well with some of the other riders moving through here. Suleiman Alrecki looking like still moving through, just behind Carlos Carrillo, who is one of our category 4 riders. Really good to see moving from 3 to 4 categories, and to enable the riders to really be in against and racing their peers, which is great here. So on the left-hand side of your screen, we are in with this lead group on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Mr. X100 just pushing past Knudsen as he moves through. Jones, Knudsen, Graves and Vink, 24.5 kilometres now travelled at the front of this group. These riders are coming up and coming through to what will soon be the end of lap 3. So we're here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This men's race has headed to the Bahrain route today. It is a route of constant climbing. None of the climbs are long, between 400 and 800 metres in length. None of the climbs are steep, 2.5% to 4.1% average gradients. But the climbing is constant and the gradient change is constant. So this course 5 laps of an 8.9 kilometre length route. In total, 20 climbs. So 20 climbs for the men on this course today. It is constantly either up or down. There is very little transition between these climbs, and this constantly changing gradient is really key and core for technique in racing, because either the push is on and the dynamics are moving, but the second the riders go up and over the climbs and start to drop on the descents, the pace picks up so quickly that the gaps start to grow even more. So we currently have 5 riders in this lead group. So Mr. X100, Ollie Jones, Philip Graves, Michael Knudsen and Michael Vink are chasing 2 riders, Pablo Popovic and Mitch Ferry today. But these riders are now over a minute back. In fact, 1 minute 15 back to our chasing 2 riders. So this course does indeed, and the dynamics of this course do indeed allow for these gaps to really grow and grow quite quickly. So as Popovic and Ferry continue to chase and continue to work hard, the gap to the group in front just continues to grow as Jones, Vink, Graves, Knudsen and Mr. X100 push on further, and it's now looking like this group are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this race today. Something really dramatic is going to need to happen for these 5 not to be clear of this field. So we're watching as Vink, Jones, Graves, Knudsen and Mr. X100 come through that banner for the end of lap 3 and the start of lap 4. So start of lap 4 and start of climb 13 today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club as this lead group of 5 riders push on up this climb. This climb is climb number 13. 13 of 20 as they push on up this climb. This group are working really well together now. And it's going to be really interesting to see what the tactics are of this group as to whether they are just going to be happy for the 5 riders to ride into the finish together and then take a sprint and see who comes out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whether someone is going to make an attack at some point over these closing laps to go clear of this group and to try and break the group. But this group race against each other week in and week out, and they know each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses. They will know each other so well. And they will know each other's tactics and the types of things that they might try tactically on this course today. So a little bit further back down the field, we are in with what our leading group of Category 2 riders, and still a really large group of riders here moving their way through the race field and over the race distance. So 25 kilometres. So they are 2.8 kilometres back from our lead group. And this is a really big group of riders and a big group of really strong riders. So Cadiz is in here, Aramethri is in here, Giuliano is in here, Il Pino, Gakes, Mr. G, Angarita, Matt Smithson is in here as well. This is a class group of Category 2 riders. This is a really, really strong front group. And actually, there has got to be 5 or 6 riders in the group who could take the race win in Category 2. So this is going to be a really good race. And there's some strong Category 1 riders in that group as well. I've just noticed Said Safrazad has just rolled back to that group. So continuing to move through the field. But Hassan Al-Ramethri is in here as well. Il Pino is in here. Spratt. This is going to be continuing to be a really interesting race for Category 2. Back in with another really interesting race as our front end of the Category 1 race continues to tick along, and that group of 5 riders are still going strongly there. But just taking a look, it looks as though actually that group we were with Il Pino isn't the front of the Category 2 race. So Maglio, Cadiz here with, I think she says, just looking, we've got Maglio, we've got Cadiz. These are indeed our front 3 in the Category 2 race, and James Cranich as well. So Maglio, Cadiz and Cranich are 1, 2, 3. They stayed in that front group slightly longer. And it has really paid off tactically, because this group on the road here are ahead of this large group of Category 2 riders. So the Category 2 race really shaping up to be a really good race and a really strong race as well. So our lead 3 in that Category 2 race down the road from this large group that we are currently looking at. This is the chase group actually of Category 2, and they're chasing for 4th and 5th position at the moment as Maglio, Kranich are really strong and out front. So Kranich there pushing on and trying to move away from that group. It's a really good, strong group of 3, and they seem to be working really well together. And so we've got Christian Maglio, Daniel Cadiz, and James Kranich there in that Category 2 race, really pushing on and making sure they stay clear of that large group of Category 2 riders chasing behind. It does look as though they have around 2 minutes on this group. So we are back in with Hassan Al-Ramethri, and Al-Ramethri is in that chasing group of Category 2 riders, as we've now got the split on the screen here. So the lead group of 3 in Category 2 on the left-hand side of your screen, the chasing group on your right-hand side of your screen. And they do indeed, it is 2 minutes. So 28.5 kilometers for the lead riders in Category 2, 27.7. So some distance behind actually, and that 2-minute gap is well established. And again, a little bit like our Category 1 race, as we drop back in, the lead group have an established and good gap. So back in with our lead group here on this Category 1 race, Vink, X100, Knudsen, Graves and Jones. 1 minute 25 clear of Ferry and Popovic as Knudsen pushes on. Again, going up and over this bridge, Knudsen pushes at 9 watts per kilo, and Jones responds with Graves kicking over 10 watts per kilo to make sure they go with it. Everyone's got their eye on each other here, and the group of 5, are they going to take each other into the finish line? But Knudsen, I don't think, really wants to do that, as Knudsen is pushing on at the front. Philip Graves has gone over the top. Jones, X100. Everybody is responding, and no one from this lead group of 5 does not want to stay in this lead group of 5. So 5 riders out front in Category 1, 2 chasing riders, Mitch Ferry and Pavlo Popovic. The distance has yo-yoed quite substantially with this chase group, going out from around 50 seconds to about 1 minute 30 and back to 50 seconds now, as this group on the front attack each other, sit up, attack each other, sit up. Ferry and Popovic are looking like they're keeping a more consistent pace at the moment, sat around 5.5 watts per kilo, as this group on the front attack each other and then take some recovery. So 31.7 kilometers travelled for this lead group of 5. 31.8 kilometers puts these riders in between climb number 15 and climb number 16. They are currently on the descent off of this bridge here and dropping down quite quickly at around 52, 51 kilometers per hour, as that gradient is really on the descent. On the left-hand side of your screen, our chase 2 riders of Ferry and Popovic are still on the climb as they push on through. And Ferry and Popovic continue on that climb and are not yet at the brow of that hill. So on qualifier 2 of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, we have a lead group of 5 riders, Jones, Knudsen, Vink, Graves and Mr. X100. A chase group of 2, Ferry and Popovic. A little bit further back down the field, this is the Group 3 on the road. This group contains our leading Category 2 riders, Kranic, Cadiz and Maglio. These 3 riders are around 2 minutes clear of a large group of Category 2 riders on the road behind them. Alramethri is in there, Ilpino is in there, Sprat is in there. This is a strong group of chasing riders, but the lead group in Category 1 of Cadiz, Kranic and Maglio have got around 1 whole kilometre gap back now to this chase group. So they are riding strongly and riding clear, and their early tactics of hanging in with that lead group for as long as possible have really paid off for those 3 lead riders in that Category 2 race today. So Alramethri pushing on strongly. He has really good company. Baltazar, Ilpino, Sprat. These are strong Category 2 riders. Giuliano is in there as well. Smithson is in there too. It's a large group of riders in that chase group for that Category 2 race, and they are working really hard and really strongly together. Back, however, on the front of this race, Mr. X100 continues to push on with Jones, Graves, Vink and Knudsen. These 5 riders clear at the front of this race. The gap back to Ferry and Popovic are 2 chasing riders now, continuing to yo-yo and change. So Vink, Knudsen, Jones, Graves, X100, these 5 riders, 34 kilometres now into this race. These riders are moving through now and towards the end of lap number 4. It's a 5-lap race on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier number 2 for November today for these men. 5 laps of the Bahrain route. So 8.9 kilometre laps, 4 climbs per lap. It is a constantly gradient changing course today. And from the top of the final climb to the finish banner today, 2.8 kilometres. It's not flat, it's rolling. From the top of the climb, they drop down, they go up, they drop down. There's a small flat section, and then it is a small climb to the finish banner. But they are not there yet, and they are not on the last lap yet either. As we see, Mr. X100 just stretch his legs once again, and they keep repeatedly doing this to each other. So Mr. X100 stretches his legs as they're coming towards the end of lap 4. Graves, Knudsen, Vink and Jones all respond, and this group of 5 continue to go round this course together today. They take this left-hand bend on this run-in to the end of the lap. It's a long, sweeping left-hand bend, and you can see that really well on that top right-hand graphic. It just keeps moving round. And you can see on the graphic in front of you this constantly changing gradient as these riders are moving towards the end of lap 4 and onto the final lap of this course. It is indeed an uphill finish. Or it will be an uphill finish as the riders move into the last lap today. So we drop back in with Hassan Alramethri. This is the chase group, let's not forget, in this Category 2 race. And Alramethri just needs to push on here and not get gapped from that group, because that group is moving and working really well together. And there are some strong riders in that chase group. We've got 3 lead riders down the road in that Category 2 race. Maglio, Kranic and Cadiz. 3 riders down the road strongly riding in this Category 2 race. This, however, is the chase group, and there are a large number of Category 2 riders in there. As we drop back in for this final lap with the front end of this race today. And this is the first climb of the final lap. So there is one lap to go for these front 5 riders as Mr. X100 pushes on 8 watts per kilo up this climb. Knudsen, Jones, Graves and Fink all respond, and the snowball effect they're going over the top just as they come over the brow of that first climb on this lap and start to drop down the other side. So this is our final lap on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club today for these men as they trot down off of climb number 1 of lap 5 and head towards climb number 2 on this lap. It's climb number 2 on this lap. It's climb number 18 on this race. This course has had a constantly changing gradient. It has been up, it is down, it is up, it is down. 20 climbs in total on this course. They just keep coming. And this group of 5 have been using it to their advantage. They have pushed on and they have created a really strong gap back to the next group of riders that is now around 2 minutes. So this lead group of riders now 2 minutes clear of the chase group on the Sunday Race Club. So our 2 chase riders nearly 1 kilometre back now, Pablo Popovic and Mitch Ferry. These 2 have been working really well together today, but that gap has not come down. It has just gone out. The group of 5 at the front have continually attacked each other and pushed on and pushed hard as we see another attack go off the front of that group. So Knudsen has put the power down and really moved hard again on this group as they've come up onto the next climb. Knudsen is using that to his advantage and utilising that climb and going round the back markers to actually push on and break that group. So it looks messy on the top right hand side of the corner of the screen because they are coming up on the back markers of this race, and Knudsen is using those back markers to push on as Knudsen goes 8.8 watts per kilo. Jones responds 8.5 watts per kilo. Knudsen, Jones, Graves is pushing on. Vink and Mr. X100 are all trying to respond here. They are all moving through those back markers, and this front group is all over the road at the moment, but they are all starting to come back together again. So we saw Knudsen attack up that climb, but the group all responded and responded well. They've gone through those back markers and they are now still rolling on that road. So our lead group 5 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, they are up and they are over climb number 18. On the right-hand side of your screen are 2 chasing riders, Mitch Ferry and Pablo Popovic, now looking just over 900 metres behind our leading group of 5, as our leading group of 5 yet again come up against some back markers on this descent this time, and those back markers are just sitting in that group on this descent, but that will change very shortly. So, Mr. X100, Michael Knudsen, Ollie Jones, Michael Vink and Philip Graves are 5 leaders stretched out there in those yellow jerseys on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. These men today are on the Bahrain route. 4 climbs per lap, 5 laps equals 20 climbs. This constantly changing gradient has created some really interesting racing today that has split this field apart. We saw 30 riders in the lead group on lap 1 very, very quickly whittled its way down, and a leading group of 5 riders with 2 chasing riders behind is where we have been for most of this race now. So Jones, Knudsen, Graves, Vink and Mr. X100, our leading group of 5, currently with a lapped Category 2 rider just sitting on the back of that group and making the most of the draft as that lead pack have come round. Mitch Ferry and Pablo Popovic are 2 chasing riders in this Category 1 race. Not far behind them, we have the leading riders in our Category 2 race. Maglio, Kranich and Cadiz, these three riders, real strong tactical awareness. They went with that lead group and they worked hard and they stayed there as long as possible to establish as strong a gap as possible over the rest of the Category 2 riders. And it has worked really well for them. They have a 2-minute gap on the chasing pack of around 9 Category 2 riders with some real class in it. But the early work and the early tactic for these three riders in Category 2 really paid off. So as we drop back in with our lead group of Category 1 riders, Knudsen pushes on 12.4 watts per kilo. Knudsen really doesn't want to take this group of 5 into the finish. As Knudsen pushes on, Jones responds at 11 watts per kilo and Graves is pushing at 10 as well. These riders are pushing hard up these climbs, but these climbs are short. This climb at the moment, they are at is 800 meters long, 800 meters to make the most of cracking this group. As Knudsen pushes, Jones responds. There's a 2-second gap at the moment. Graves, Vink and Mr. X100. In fact, Mr. X100's at the back of this field at the moment, just going around those back markers. These lap riders now really making sighting quite difficult. But that group of 5, there's 4 down the road, and Mr. X100 is going to come up and onto the back of that group, taking it to 5 again. So these riders are using these climbs now to attack because they don't want to take 5 riders into a sprint finish. There is nothing to split these riders today other than one climb between now and the finish line. That climb is 700 meters in length, 2.5% average gradient. These riders really now have their work cut out for them because they are running out of road and they are running out of climbs to break this group up. So Jones, Vink, Knudsen, Mr. X100 and Graves. Oh, it's a game of cat and mouse now as these riders, 0.8 watts per kilo. How much recovery can these riders take on this descent before they go into this final climb? There is not a lot of road left. They have 3 kilometers left to go in this race. 3 kilometers with one climb. It's short, it's 700 meters. The gradient is 2.5% average. There are steeper sections, but there is just one climb to go. Further back down the field, that chasing group of Category 2 riders with Alra Methry and Smithson and Tysalius. Tom Gakes is in there as well. This group is now starting to stretch. It's now starting to stretch over this bridge. They've got those 3 riders down the road. So this group are racing for 4th and 5th place. It's a really strong group. And any one of these riders could have won on another day this Category 2. This Category 2 field is so strong and there are so many good and competitive riders in here. Alra Methry pushing on, just coming to the front of that group. But as we drop back in with our lead group, this gradient hits 6% on this final climb. Jones, Graves, Vink, Knudsen, Mr. X100. There is nothing to split these 5 riders. Absolutely nothing to split these 5 riders in this front group on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. These riders go round this left-hand bend. The gradient starts to drop as they come towards the brow of this hill. This is the final main climb. They have gone over 20 climbs in this race course today as they go over the top and they drop the other side. It's an interesting run into the finish. This last 2.8 kilometers, they drop down off of this climb. They then go up a small rise. They drop down again, a small flat land, and then that run into the uphill finish. And the finish banner is not sighted until 100 meters before that finish line. So who has recce'd this course, who has been paying attention, and who has thought about where they are going to kick and take this out today? So Knudsen, Jones, Vink, Graves and Mr. X100, 5 riders at the front of this race. They are 1 minute 50 plus clear of the 2 chase riders of Ferry and Popovich today. 1.4 kilometres left to go for these 5 riders on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club as Mr. X100 pushes on. 8 watts per kilo. Graves responds. Jones has gone too. Little bit of a stretch of the legs to see who was paying attention there from Mr. X100. As we see these riders, there is nothing to split them at the moment. So nothing splitting our top 5 riders at the moment as they start on this run into the finish today. 900 meters left to go as they are looking at each other and wondering who is going to kick first. A little bit of cat and mouse going on, and there's not enough road to play cat and mouse here, but there's a big sweeping bend and a very late finish line as these riders have got 600 meters left to go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So Knudsen, Mr. X100, and X100 is the first one to kick. Not surprising, 500 meters to go. It's a long kick. Still to go as X100 goes at 8.2 watts per kilo. Jones is winding it up behind. Vink is coming. Vink kicks at 12 watts per kilo. Jones at 9. Knudsen at 13. Knudsen is coming hard. Knudsen is pushing and pushing. 13.5. Jones comes at 14 watts per kilo as that finish line is coming. We've got 100 meters as Ollie Jones is kicking at 14 watts per kilo. Jones is going to take this with Knudsen coming up, and Jones comes through to take that. Jones comes through to take the win from Michael Knudsen, from Michael Vink, Philip Graves and Mr. X100. What a finish. Those 5 riders came into that finish and Ollie Jones kicked hard. So Ollie Jones takes the win in 1 hour, 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Michael Knudsen coming through in 2nd place, Michael Vink in 3rd, Philip Graves in 4th, and Mr. X100 in 5th. So we are back in with our chasing 2. Pablo Popovich and Mitch Ferry have kept each other company for a long time now as they start to sweep in to the final stages of this race today. So Ferry and Popovich currently coming in to the final stages of lap number 5, and they will shortly be seeing that finish banner between them as Popovich puts some power down. Ferry is not having it. They've ridden this together. They are going to come in together, says Ferry. You are not leaving me right now. They've got 400 meters to go as they're coming up to some lapped riders as Ferry starts to kick, and Ferry goes at 12 watts per kilo. Popovich is just behind, currently around 9. Ferry, I think, is going to take this from the 2 of them unless Popovich does something about it now. But it's looking like Mitch Ferry is going to come in. Mitch Ferry is going to come in to that finish line. So Mitch Ferry taking the sprint from Pablo Popovich. Our 2 chase riders coming in there. So Ferry, Popovich, just dropping back now. We are in with our leading 3 riders in the Category 2 race. So Daniel Cadiz, Christian Maglio and James Cranich, these 3 riders tactically rode really strongly to start this race. They were in that lead group and they stayed in that lead group. And in fact, that work in that lead group has allowed them to establish a gap here of around 1 minute 40 seconds back to the chasing group in this category 2 race. This chasing group in the category 2 race are now 1.5 kilometers behind them. So a really strong lead and a really strong gap that they established. The chasing group packed full from Aurametri to Ilpino to Sprat to Gakes. But as these three riders, Cadiz, Maglio and Kranic, come into the finish area, they have 600 meters to go. So 600 meters to go in the category 2 race. Panizza is category 1 rider just ahead of them. He's coming into the last 200 meters with Cadiz, Kranic and Maglio just behind. So Panizza is going to come in to take that position in that category 1 race. The race behind him is the one for the win in category 2. So as Panizza comes over the line, I'm hoping we are going to drop in with the category 2 race that's going on behind him, because Maglio, Kranic and Cadiz are going to race for that win, and indeed Maglio takes it. Maglio takes that category 2 win. So Maglio from Kranic, from Cadiz, those 3 category 2 riders that broke clear. Fantastic racing, fantastic riding from all. Okay, so what a race today. So just a quick run through. So Jones, Knudsen, Vink, outstanding riding from those leading 5 in category 1. Our category 2 race with Maglio, Kranic and Cadiz, absolutely fantastic as well, right to the line. If you want to check out the final results for all the categories racing today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, then head over to mywhoosh.com. You can take a look at the results section on the website and check out all 4 categories for the final results. You can also keep up to date with MyWhoosh on social media. You'll find MyWhoosh on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Biking Emma. Please get in touch. Always want to hear what's going on in between the racing. I can't wait for qualifier 3 next week. In the meantime, keep up to date with everything that's going on. Stay safe, and we'll be back to see you next week. Goodbye.